Charlie. Mark, 1 Charlie.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm full of optimism.
Einstein's theory of relativity.
We're still seeing it quite well through that haze. T-minus 37 seconds.
The fight with growing confidence.
E equals MC.
That all men are created equal.
About the future innovations.
And growing strength in the air.
Tear down this world. Head on. Something happening coming up on station.
This is Finding Your Frequency with your hosts, Jeff Spinard and Ryan Treasure. It's time to speak up, share your voice, and hear from the thought leaders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of Finding Your Frequency. We are here. We're rocking and rolling. I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to the radio show right here on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. We have a fantastic show for you today. This person that we're going to have a discussion with is an author who has won multiple awards, and then, of course, she had a great career in radio and the music industry and some different things. So we'll kind of navigate through all of that. Claire Fullerton, who's the author of Little T, Set in the Deep South, and concerns female friendship, Southern culture, healing the past, and the changing times of the racial divide. Something that we could all probably learn a little bit about with our current atmosphere with COVID-19 and all of the civil unrest that's been happening across the country and the world for that matter. Claire Fullerton, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
So, Claire, I want to stay true to the programming for Finding Your Frequency in our talk radio program. And I want to just start off with, talking to you about how you found your frequency in life and in business. I mean, you've done a lot of different things in your career, and you're currently an author and writing fantastic books and novels. So let's kind of just start at the beginning and talk about how you got where you are.
Okay, I think that it's been a very linear path. And the reason why I say that is it's all been following the creative arts. And so with regard to finding my frequency, it was definitely an attunement to what it is that inspires me, because, I've always thought that whatever that is that inspires you is typically something that you're good at, that comes easily to you. And then the pursuit of that in some ways is a build, and that you're trying to explore your contribution to whatever that medium is going to be. And so for me, it was always the arts, and by that I'll be specific and say the art of communication. And the reason why I say that is because I grew up in Memphis, which is the Deep South, and it's considered by many a musical mecca, and it is. I mean, it is such a part of the environment, the history, the culture, and the source of community pride in terms of the music that was created in Memphis. And in many ways, what was created in Memphis before Elvis, and then Elvis took the ball and ran, and then the Beatles took that ball and ran, that its foundation, some would argue, was all in the Delta. And Memphis was considered the big city in the Delta. So it came from Memphis is a slogan you hear bantered around there. So if I grew up in that environment, and my brother Haynes, 18 months older than I, was a musician, picked up a guitar when he was 8, never put it down. And so, he was passionate about music, who was doing what, and he understood music as a language, as a science, as an art. And I grew up under the tutelage of that in Memphis. And so my contribution to the arts was two things. I had an aptitude for ballet, for dance, and by that it came very easily to me. And that is movement and how one relates to music and associates, with music. And I also decided at a very early age that I wanted to be one of those on the radio talking about the music that was coming out and interviewing the musicians that were there. And and at the time when I was growing up in Memphis, there was a wonderful club scene. There were incredibly creative bands that were contributing to, rock and roll. A band named Big Star, for instance, that influenced the bands REM and the Replacements, and on and on and on. And so they were just on every corner in Memphis at the time. And so my becoming involved in radio started with learning the board.
Yep.
As in what puts you on the air. And my first, gig of significance was at WHBQ Talk Radio, when they had all of the old time broadcasters there that it was the highest art they knew of, this talk radio. And I learned how to be a producer and run the live shows as they were on. And from there, I got involved in commercial radio, and I was a country music disc jockey when I knew nothing about country music, but they hired me, and all of a sudden I learned, and now I have a great appreciation for country music. But all told, it was a 9-year career that went through, I believe it was 5 different formats, and it all culminated, at the pinnacle for me where I wanted to be all along, which was WEGR Rock 103 on Beale Street, and that at the time was the album-oriented rock station anywhere in the Southeast. It went into multiple states, and it was a wonderful time. But 2 years into it, I was offered the opportunity to move to Los Angeles and find the bands, take them to the record companies where everybody would prosper. And that's what got me from Memphis to Los Angeles. And I did that, and had some success with a band called Better Than Ezra that got signed, and today they're still enjoying a real nice career. And the lead singer is a highly respected songwriter now living in Nashville. And so, I felt like I was a part of something that blossomed, and that is the art of communication, but yet so is writing, and I've been writing all along, and I can say that because from the time I was 17 or 18, I've kept a journal for no reason whatsoever other than I felt compelled to. And from a writer's perspective, when one keeps a journal, it is inevitable that they will get better at the writing process. They fine-tune, they learn the art of brevity, all of this. And if you read all along and, doing these kinds of things, it all fits together. And so I started as a poet and was published as a poet in a couple of publications. And then I tried my hand at short story writing. But when I moved to Ireland, and which I did, I left the music industry and I moved to the West Coast of Ireland. And I was there for a little more than a year, and I worked at the Galway Music Centre, which meant representing the Irish musicians that were, in the rural part of outside of Galway, and helping to sort of organize their careers, put them in the clubs, send their demo tapes to Dublin, this kind of a thing. But when I got back to America, it was because I was offered a job, and the first thing I did was review the journals that I had, that I kept religiously every day while I was in Ireland, because I was a stranger in a strange land, and it all worked for me. I mean, it was like an incredibly pivotal career, sort of launching point, because I took that journal and I turned it into a novel, and that was the first novel that I ever wrote, and yet it was the second novel I ever got published. So I had another novel published before that, and then turned around and said, well, to the same publisher, I have a manuscript, it's set in Ireland. And I've been steadily writing novels ever since. And so I can tell you, Ryan, that it's been 10, 11 years since I've been a full-time writer. And, finding your frequency, to get back to your question, it is as simple as, discerning and defining how it is that you are wired, how you're calibrated, what your frequency is, and following that, that which has resonance, to use frequency terms. And, if you do but that, I believe that it will lead you, onward. And so for me, I look at it as one obvious transition of, from radio to the music business to writing, which I was doing all along, it all makes perfect sense to me, how everything grew, evolved and just moved forward. That to me, it's all the same thing in terms of exploring the art of communication, and what does that mean? This business of being human, what do we bring to the table? How do we contribute to that? And from a writer's perspective, I think what writers are doing is commenting on how they view this business of life. And for me, I can say personally that it's almost as if I'm comparing notes with the reader, in as much as I'm saying, all right, well, here's my take on this. Here's my understanding of this. Let me get it all down so that the reader can consider their own vantage point or their own viewpoint. And, I can tell you, Ryan, that's why I'm in it, is, there's a purpose for me being in it. And that is the whole thing is an exploration for me in terms of, this is my understanding of how to live. So.
That's wonderful. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love keeping my face nicely shaved, nice and clean for my wife, and just that nice, clean, professional look. I suggest you guys also do the same thing, and you can do it fantastically with a great company called Harry's. Harry's is such an amazing product, not to mention, how much could you save in 1 year by switching to Harry's? It's enough to buy 26 cups of coffee in New York City, or enough for 3 deep dish Chicago pizzas. Enough to pay for 6 months of your Netflix subscription. How, you ask? Harry's delivers high quality razor blades as low as $2 each. That's it, just $2. A fraction of the price of the leading brand, and saving you hundreds of dollars over time. I just love the product. It's a close shave. The design of the handle is ergonomic. It fits my hand perfectly. The shave gel really makes it nice and smooth, and it smells fantastic. You can get a Harry's trial set delivered to your doorstep by going to harrys.com/frequency. You got to try it out. Durable blades, fair price, $2 per blade. They cut out the middleman manufacturing blades in their German blade factory that's been making precision blades for a century. That's why you get that nice, close shave and that wonderful handle. Harry actually has all your grooming needs covered in one stop. You can get blades, hair care, shower products, all on harrys.com. And just like their blades, Harry's is committed to providing premium products without breaking the bank. You can feel a little better about your purchase knowing that 1% of the proceeds are set aside for nonprofit organizations devoting to helping provide access to better mental health care for men and veterans. I know I can get behind that. To help support those who need it most, right now, Harry's is donating $1 million worth of shaving supplies to hospitals across the United States. Listeners of Finding Your Frequency can redeem their Harry's trial set at harrys.com/frequency. You'll get a weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip, and a trimmer blade. Rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and safe to grab on the go. Don't forget, go to harrys.com/frequency and start saving money today. When you kind of started your story to tell us about it, you said following the creative arts, and then you made some mention about communication and humanism, and that's one of the things I enjoy about this particular medium, right? Is I'm not the best writer in the world, but I know that I can have a great conversation with just about anyone. And that's my contribution. Like, you're contributing with your written components and, the different things that you were doing with, discovering bands and such. And you're bringing to the world something creative that they necessarily wouldn't have seen before. And that's just absolutely beautiful. And kudos to you for that, and being able to be, chameleon-like in a sense with your creativeness and be able to move and shift from, one component of, doing radio into, looking for bands and artists and such, and then moving into writing. I mean, essentially all of those are creative outlets, and so that's just fantastic that you have that ability to shift and weave through the different components but still maintain that creative flow.
Well, thank you. And musicians are incredibly otherworldly creatures. I mean, I am in awe and fascinated. And, I remember being in the music business and in radio as well, music radio, and thinking the world's got to hear this. I mean, this is absolutely otherworldly in terms of just the contribution this band or this one singer-songwriter is bringing to the table, and everybody's got to hear it. And so in a manner of speaking, I acted as an agent, and they call what I did, A&R, meaning artist and repertoire.
Yep.
And the A&R people are the people in a record company that find the bands, and then they're the point person between the record company and the musicians and the band. And so in essence, they act as a manager in their own way. And that's just the hierarchy of the music business. But, there's nothing more fulfilling than champion, in my opinion, another artist and saying, look, I happen to know how to navigate the waters of how to make your dream come true. And it deserves to come true. It should come true.
Yeah, and
everybody's going to be, lifted up when your dream comes true. So let me get in there and do what I can to make sure that what needs to happen between, you standing here now and you being on a stage somewhere, let me take you through the steps. And I found that to be an incredibly fulfilling career. And it was, like champion another artist, and yet I was one myself. And so, I find myself for the first time, now that my fourth novel, Little T, was released May 1st, that I am essentially working and promoting myself and my book and my work. And it's a different position to be in than champion somebody else's. And, that's a whole nother show for you in terms of how an artist, and in my case, a writer, reconciles the fact that in this day and age, they have to promote, their book and themselves. And that's an entirely different show.
You have to be your own champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an interesting position for me because, as I've mentioned, that for years, I was the one that was, all excited about the artist standing next to me. And so now, the paradigm has shifted, and it's part and parcel to being an author in this day and age, that, social media and all of this, that you have to have a platform, and, you have to be mindful and also vigilant about how you appear on that platform, and where you're going to appear and these kinds of things. And so again, I still view it all going right back to center page as this is the art of communication. And this is what we do in order to, share with those that we think would be our audience that, I exist, I have a book out, and here it is. And so for an artist that is a writer, it's a long game, and you are building your career, and you are doing it one reader at a time. Yeah. And you're thrilled when anybody reads your book and leaves a review. And, I've seen many of my fellows be frustrated by just how long it takes. That it's just this never ending build, and yet it's part and parcel to the act of being a writer. They go hand in hand. And so, that's just the current field and the art of communications that I'm in now. And I don't envision myself ever not writing, and the field changes, the publishing world changes, the genres they're looking for in signing changes. And then it becomes, as a writer, what do I do with regard to why I'm writing and what I have to say to reconcile the fact that the market is this and all that. So there's the business side of being a writer as well, which isn't dissimilar to, musicians having to have a thorough understanding of the business side of the music business. And so, therein comes that age-old quandary of reconciling, art and business. And I imagine even painters have it,
Yeah.
Anybody involved in the arts, sooner or later it comes down to, what is the business side of getting the work out in the world, whatever that work may be.
Yeah, and I think from the artistic side too, when you're a writer or you're a musician, I mean, the whole goal of what you're doing is you guys are storytellers. You're telling stories, whether it be in a musical format or in a written format, like with your books. But ultimately, everything that we do in media, whether it's radio, television, movies, any of those things, it all begins with the story. And that's one of the things that I really love about country music, and one of the things I really love about reading books is you get this different take on somebody telling a story where you can kind of almost even imagine yourself in a particular scenario, and get some of the feelings that are given off by music, and of course also by the written word, because the written word, there's no music there, so you immediately envision yourself in the scenario, or you envision what this writer is trying to explain as far as the place that they're at, the feelings that they have, all of those different things. But effectively, it's all just story technology, right? Everything that we do nowadays revolves around the story, whether you're branding a business, whether you're doing books or anything. It's all about what's the story, because if you don't have a story to tell, then what are we talking about, right?
You're so right. And you're so right. And I love what you've said, Ryan. And what occurred to me as you were saying it was, well, here's something that I've never really considered with regard to, reading and all this. It hits you emotionally.
Absolutely.
And that's, and the storytelling, that when people are, in their living room or bedroom reading a book, nobody's around, there's no sound. What's happening? They're reading what's happening. They're connecting emotionally. Yeah. I mean, intellectually, obviously, on some vantage points, but they are weighing it against their understanding of the world. And one's understanding of the world is experienced, in my opinion, emotionally. And so to really be gifted with the opportunity to explore your emotions without it being, a construct of something that you are experiencing personally, and then there's going to be a filter in there because, defense mechanisms come in, all kinds of things, fear comes in, all kinds of things come in. When we're up in our own, quandaries, dilemmas, and something is evocative emotionally. But to read a book, you have a safety zone around you and you are imagining as if. And that's the reason why I think that those who read are voracious readers. I mean, those that read, that have it as a way of being in the world, and you find with readers that they don't do it casually, they
do it habitually.
Yeah.
My wife is one of those people.
Is she?
Oh, absolutely. And if she doesn't have a book in her hand, she's listening to a book on tape while she's working.
There you go.
And
what does she like to read?
Oh man, she's into all kinds of stuff. I don't know exactly what she's into now, but she just got done with like a whole series on Jack Reacher. She's into all kinds of different stuff, whether it be thriller novels or she likes all of that stuff. She likes sci-fi stuff. She likes things like the Game of Thrones series that she also read all of those, and so she's
Outlander, maybe.
Yeah.
Good for her. I like hearing that. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean it's life enhancing to a large degree, and reading certainly speaks to the imagination as well, and it helps you with your view of the world, and I think it's very important to have our imagination piqued.
Yeah. You guys have to check out this new service that I'm playing around with called Issue. It is totally amazing. You live to create, but you don't live to worry over the last nitpicky details involved in putting final touches on contact. You got to do what you do best and let Issue handle the rest. If you're a creative, you know the drill. You're finally done editing. It's perfect. Now you just need format and reformat for every single platform. With Issue, make it once and it's ready to post everywhere. Seriously, Issue is the all-in-one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital publications, from brochures to magazines and sales collateral. It's perfect for creators, marketers, designers, educators, publishers, salespeople, or just anyone that wants to make eye-catching content that can be distributed on multiple platforms. Issue makes it really simple. Just upload the PDFs and files, and Issue transforms them using your vision and customizable templates to create the content you want. With Issue, you just create it one time and distribute it everywhere. Everything is optimized to post on your website, social platforms like Instagram and Facebook. They can even help you make animated Instagram stories. And the best part about it, it is free. Free, free. That's right, it's free to get started with Issue. So go to issue.info/frequency to sign up for your free account. That's ISSUU.info/frequency to sign up and let them know that you heard about it from this show, Finding Your Frequency. Remember, that's .info, not .com, .info. So go to ISSUU.info/frequency and get your free account today.
Yeah.
You know, the CEO of Voice America, who's the is the host of the show normally, and I co-host, and he's been out trying to take over the world. So I've been filling in for
again.
Yeah, you know how it is. So I've been filling in on the show. Normally we do them together, but I've been filling in a lot, just doing the one-on-one interviews. And you know, this whole show started because Jeff wrote a book called Finding Your Frequency: How to Broadcast Yourself and Your Message, right? Because having a media and radio background for 25 years. And he started writing this book. And one of the things that I thought that was very synergistic between, you know, the process of what you do with writing and the process of what we do in media and broadcast is, you know, initially, like, the first thing you're ever doing is you're like defining your message, right? And that's something that we do. That's something that we do in radio before we conceptualize some talk radio format or whatever it is like, so this message that we want to get out, right? Let's define that message, right? And then you got to define your audience, like who are you actually talking to with that message, and then, you know, setting your goals on what is that, and then strategies around attacking those. And I think from an artistic point of view, whether you're a band, whether you're in radio, whether you're a novelist or anything, I mean, all of those things are kind of some key points just to kind of start off. You know, if anybody was ever asking, like, well, how do I get started if I want to write a book? How do I get started in radio? You know, it all starts with defining your message.
You are so right. And God, this is just so much fun for me to talk to you. It's like I have met a member of my tribe, and that is the ultimate in following your frequency.
Yep.
It's the ultimate in that it may seem foreign to the mathematician, you know, on the other side of the room, but to me, nothing matters as much as, you know, so it's about passion as well. Absolutely. And you have to say, all right, well, you know, I am wired this way, and yet I have an older brother who is into something completely different that, you know, is foreign to me and I can't relate to it. And so it begs the question of, you know, isn't that interesting, the way that, you know, we're born, so to speak. And so, you know, the wise person gets in touch with who they are and what motivates them and inspires them, and follows that, you know. And I think that I found in radio that, I'll use the word tribe again, that, you know, I was lucky enough to meet some people that were involved in the business, and it was so apparent that we spoke the same language. Yeah. And the first man, Steve Connolly of FM 100 in Memphis, that, you know, when I met him, he had a wildly popular DJ at FM 100, and still is, like, iconic in Memphis. But he said, "You belong in the business." And, you know, I might have been like 21 at the time, and I was like, "You're right," you know, because we spoke the same language, and we were both as enthusiastic about who was doing what, you know, what musician was doing what. And, you know, with music and all that, it's almost like nothing else matters anywhere on earth as much as this does, you know. And you find that the people that are in music radio, they all feel that way, and they all have almost a reverence for broadcasting, because there's an art to the delivery.
Well, and they have to. I mean, I'm sure you know this from working in radio. When you're a board op or you're a producer in radio, it's not like you bring home six figures, right? It's not a hugely high paying job working in radio, but it's hugely satisfying. You know, and like you, that's so funny. I was told, Ryan, you belong in this space. I started at an AM station here locally, and I had answered an ad when I got home from the military that said, have a career in media. And I was like, man, I've been DJing since I was 13 years old. I always loved turntables and electronics, and you know, I've learned how to play the guitar twice and then forgot how to play the guitar twice, and you know, so all of those things I'm so interested in. And, you know, I'm not necessarily a musician per se, but I love music and I love instruments and I love sound and I love the engineering aspects of all of those things. And so here I am thinking, oh, cool, job in media. I wonder what it is. I go down to the station, I interview, and it was for a sales job. It was for an associate producer of executive producers and working with them and making outbound phone calls out of the phone book with people who had yellow page ads, because their idea was, well, if they have a yellow page ad, they're trying to get noticed, so let's call all these people that have a whole full page ads and see if they want to be advertisers on the radio.
Yeah, sure.
So that was like, you know, my first job, and I did that for about 5 or 6 months, and then I met this gentleman named Chad, who was a board op at the time, who was running the midday shifts at the talk station, and I would get done with my shift and I would go into the control room and hang out with him, and we're just hanging out. And you know, after about 2 months of that, a job opened up in overnights, and so I switched from doing the sales side to board opping overnights, and that was my very first entry into, you know, the radio world and producing radio. And one of my best joys during that time, like you were explaining, you know, being a DJ, was, you know, talking about this music, bringing on artists, having conversations with them. And you know, we had I had a show called Sessions from the Crate, right? Crates of records, sessions from the crate, and that's exactly what we would do. People who
What year was this?
This was probably in 1999.
Okay.
Yep. 1999, and then I think I was at that station from 99 to 02 or 03, something like that. And so we did that, and similar to what you did, when acts and bands and artists would come into town, into Phoenix, we would invite them into the studio to play their music, talk about their music, and that even though I was working overnights and getting paid very terribly, it was so rewarding for my soul, though, to be able to make this connection with the listeners, and knowing that there were people out there that really cared about what we were bringing to the table, the style of music that, you know, that we were bringing to the table. And we talked about all kinds of music. It could have been hip hop, it could have been country music, it could have been electronic music, anything that we felt that was relevant to our audience, we would bring that, and it was satisfying. And I know you know that feeling.
Yeah, and I think that what I was thinking, your success story, because it is a success story, is exemplary of, you know, when people say, how do I get into the business? Well, the answer is, you go to the front desk where the receptionist is, and after you make best friends, you get them to call the music director downstairs, and you say, I'm here with my broom ready to sweep your floors, and you don't have to pay me. You know, because the whole thing is just, let me underneath the roof. Mm-hmm. Let me be a part of this underneath the roof. And then you go in there and, you know, you fraternize with those that are doing it. And eventually they will lift you up because they recognize that, you know, you're serious about being there. And, you know, things do open up. And, you know, who are they gonna hire? The one standing underneath the roof is who they're going to hire. And so that's the whole thing, is just get in the building, and you know, the path ahead, doors will open up if you're standing there, you know, and that's how it works. And it could be for any industry.
Yeah, 100%.
But I know that it was in radio, is just get in there, tell them they don't have to pay you, just let me be here. You know,
that's like the promo for our radio show that we play throughout the network. It says you have to summon the intestinal fortitude to step out of your comfort zone and go do something, go try, right? And you know, walking in the front door, of any business and saying, hey, I'm here to lend a hand, put me to work, showing your eagerness, that's stepping outside of your comfort zone, because you know how easy it is to just sit at home on the internet and send out digital applications for jobs. And, I know a lot of companies nowadays, that's kind of their requirement, but in my mind, if I ever had to look for another job, I'm not going to sit at home and send out resumes. I'm going to sit at home and send the resumes, and the following day, I'm going to go to the places that I sent the resumes to, show them my face, show up in person, right? And they're going to have to tell me to my face no to go away, not by email.
Yeah. That's right. There's a lot to be said, and that's why for authors that so many of us, this pandemic has changed the dynamic of how authors, heretofore have been working their careers, and all of it is show up in person. Show up at the bookstores, do the book signings, go to the book festivals, show up in person, and meet your readers face to face. So there's a lot to be said for showing up in person, and that's all fields. But the internet and how things are done online certainly assists that, but I don't believe it should be the other way around. That the primary focus is online. We still are human beings that are pack oriented. And so I think for anything, if you can get an introduction to those that are your audience, in person, that goes a long way.
Yeah, well said, well said. Are you having trouble finding hand sanitizer? Well, Spa Treat has you covered. There's no need to go searching high and low. Just visit spatreatofficial.com and place your order on their easy-to-use website. On-schedule delivery. One of the great things about this product, Spa Treat Fulfillment Team is working around the clock to provide people hand sanitizer during this time of need and get your order to you as quickly as possible, even faster than Amazon. Spa Treat also has the lowest price of any of its competitors. Spa Treat has 62% alcohol content, and the FDA recommends between 60 to 80 for maximum protection. This one has 62 because it doesn't dry your hands out. I use this stuff every single day. It is fantastic. It's got certified organic extracts with the ingredients in that hand sanitizer that are the highest quality, and they're designed to leave your hands smelling and feeling fresh while protecting you at the same time. The best part, there's no tricky residue left over. None of that sticky stuff. 4 scents available: unscented, tea tree, lavender, and lemon. And best of all, this product right here is made in the good old United States of America. A lot of companies are having trouble dealing with the current demands, so Spa Treat has dedicated themselves to providing a much needed product in the time of crisis. Spa Treat has better prices, faster shipping, and a larger supply than any of their competition. There isn't even a close second. Visit spatreatofficial.com and enter promo code SPA SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. That's right. Not only are they offering the lowest price available, but they're also offering our listeners a discount. This promo code is exclusive to Voice America, and only our listeners get this discount. Spa Treat and Voice America came together on this sponsorship in order to provide Americans something they could really need right now: peace of mind. Visit spatreatofficial.com and order yours today. That's spatreatofficial.com, and make sure you use the promo code SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. spatreatofficial.com. Get your awesome hand sanitizer. Claire, I want to give you the opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find out more about your books. Where can they purchase them? I know you have a whole span. I mean, your recent book that just came out in May was Little T. That was one that was set in the Deep South, and then you had some other stuff that you've been putting out. You had the novel Mourning Dove, right, which is a 5-time award winner.
It's 7 times.
7 times.
The last 2 weeks, they picked up 2 more.
I was going to say, you got to update your bio.
I know. I mean, it happens so quickly.
Quick, yeah.
And I'm in the swing of Little T, but I'll tell you succinctly, I have a website that's clairefullerton.com.
Nice.
And I love Instagram, Ryan, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm posting about what's happening as I do the swing with Little T, and that the first 90 days after a book release are when authors are really out in the world, when they're interviewed, and when there's momentum behind them. And so I I can proudly say I'm in the swing of that right now, and I'm having a great time. But, essentially for me, I do write about with Mourning Dove, like the bird, Mourning Dove, not good morning, and with Little T, I addressed the family dynamic, and in terms of cause and effect, and in terms of how it is that we end up shaping our lives and who we are, that it starts in the family, and the foundation of that explains a lot in terms of where we go and what happens to us in life. And I'm also big on talking about the South as place, because, as we said, I'm living in California now. I've been here for a long time, but I grew up in Memphis. And so therefore I have, the luxury of being able to sort of, now one person removed, talk about the South and its culture and its social mores and its people and its characters and its rich history and just everything about the South. I see it through a different lens now that I'm geographically removed from it. And that's the reason why I set my last two novels in the Deep South, because there's just so much substance there, to set any type of human interaction, in the South as place, because it almost becomes its own character. And what was interesting with Little T is that, obviously I wrote it 2 years ago. By the time you get the book signed, and I do have a literary agent, that shops my work, but by the time that it was signed, and then you go through editing, and then you go through this and that and the other, you're always looking at right around 18 months to 2 years before it comes out. And what I did in Little T was talk about the South cultural dynamic between the blacks and the whites. And I did that by having something happen in the narrator's background in Little T. So in essence, very succinctly, Little T opens, and it's three women grew up together. Now they all live in different parts of the country. One of them has a dilemma. So the three women convene for a weekend. It's been many years since they've done this. And they take one problem, this character's dilemma, and in the hands of three different women trying to solve it. That's what I went into Little T, the novel of, because I thought this is the greatest premise ever, because I can discuss how women relate to each other when they have those long-standing friendships, the secret languages, the insider's jokes, sense of humor, all this kind of stuff, set it in the Deep South. And I started writing the narrator's backstory because I wrote it in the first person. And I had said earlier, like page 2 or 3, that the narrator was hesitant to fly down south. Now she lived in California. And I knew I had to answer the question of why. So I started to answer that question around page 25. And I created the character of Little T, who is black. The narrator's white. They grew up together in Como, Mississippi, the Deep South. So Como, Mississippi is 45 miles south of Memphis. And you find in that region that there are family homes passed down generation after generation. And most are attendant to a lot of land. And I started creating that background, and I had no intention of doing anything but just sort of saying it, And the next thing I knew, I was another 25 pages into the narrator's background, and I said, wait a minute, I think this is the story, that a white girl and a black girl grew up together side by side, third generation land in Como, Mississippi. Now, how's that going to be? How's that going to be? Because I set the girls in modern time. So let's go back 25, 30 some odd years. That would have put them in the 80s. How was the racial divide in Como, Mississippi in the 1980s? Because we like to think that it's evolved, but had it really back then? And so through the power of story in the book Little T, I discussed two things, and that was the modern times with the three girls talking about life and love and marriage and what is the idea of happiness. I mean, what is your definition of happiness? Because mine is this, and one girl's saying this and the other girl's saying this. As the narrator's backstory unfolds in Little T. That we learn about the times, the culture, the social mores, and moving forward with that, I posed that backstory as something the narrator needed to reconcile, come to grips with. Healing the past can describe it. It does so on the book's back cover. It says that. But the whole thing is an exploration. And I wrote Little T with an eye towards progress and hope. And that I said 2 years ago when I wrote the book, what was once culturally unacceptable has now become acceptable. There has been progress in racial relations. We have moved forward, we have evolved, and all of that. And so again, the book was released May 1st. And during these times that, I don't have to tell you about it. And, without, passing any kind of judgment on anything, but just, with an awareness of, there's civil upheaval right now in America. And, with regard to that, Little T's release ended up being incredibly timely. But
yeah, very timely.
I made no statements or judgments or claims on the book. I was telling a story. I'm a storyteller. That's what I do. But it has been very interesting for me since, for the reader feedback with just the timeliness of Little T being out. And so, yeah, and I think that that is, hopefully what an author receives anyway, that, when they write a book, they want people to read it and they want people to care enough to comment, So that's what's going on right now. And Little T, I can say, it's got a large presence on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm Claire Fullerton on Facebook. And, in terms of what an author does when they promote a book, even when they're traditionally published, which I am, a lot of the work falls to the author, and a lot of that results from the connections an author has. In other words, I've been doing this long enough, and Little T's my fourth, novel, that I know plenty of people in the network, in the arena, either authors or readers, or people putting on book festivals, or bookstore owners, or people like you. I mean, the whole arena is the arena in which an author works and says, okay, I've got another book and this is what it is. And so, that is my world that I've been in, and I love it passionately. And it's my idea of just how I felt about music radio and all of that, which is I'm very excited to be here, to be in it, and contribute in, what I've got to contribute, So that's where I am with the whole book thing. And I think that readers, on where and how to find an author, well, you just do a search online under their name, and all kinds of social media links will come up. So it's very easy to find an author in this day and age, just by doing a search on their name.
Agreed. Well, Claire, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show today. I'm going to urge all the listeners to go check out your website, clairefullerton.com. And of course, go check out Little T. I'm sure it's on Amazon, right? Most books are on Amazon.
Is.
So
yes.
we'll push the listeners over there. And Claire, thank you again for being on the show. What a wonderful story, just all the way from the beginning to the end. I think we had some great synergies, and just appreciate you being on.
My sincere pleasure, and thank you so much. What a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this as a podcast, make sure to give us 5 stars instead of 4, because I think Claire and I deserve 5 stars. We're 5-star human beings, so let's make sure we get the 5 stars. Please make sure to share and comment. And of course, you can always send in any comments about the radio show to info@voiceamerica.com. I love hearing your guys' feedback. And of course, if you have any subject matter or guests you want me to reach out to, also email us at info@voiceamerica.com. I'm Ryan Treasure. We're listening to Finding Your Frequency right here on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. Tune in next week, as we'll be back with another fantastic episode right here on Finding Your Frequency.